up.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Republican Congress began with the extremists holding the narrowest majority of any party since the Great Depression in 1930. And later on today, as a result of the victory by Christian Menifee, who we congratulate on this significant accomplishment, that narrow Republican majority will get even narrower. And the question for Republicans will continue to be, are you going to double and triple down on your extremism, which is getting you nowhere with the American people? Or try to find a bipartisan path forward to actually address the issues that matter when it comes to making life better for everyday Americans? House Democrats are going to continue to fight hard to lower the high cost of living, to fix our broken healthcare system, and to clean up corruption everywhere that it is found in this town. Republican policies on the economy have been a failure. Republican policies on health care have been a failure. And Republican policies on immigration enforcement have been a complete and total failure. Taxpayer dollars should not be spent to brutalize and kill American citizens. Taxpayer dollars should be spent to make life more affordable for everyday Americans, something that Republicans have refused to do from the very beginning of Donald Trump being sworn into office last January. Donald Trump and Republicans promised that they were going to lower the high cost of living in the United States of America on day one. That's what they promised. They lied to the American people. Costs haven't gone down, costs have gone up across the board. Housing costs out of control, grocery costs out of control, utility bills out of control, child care costs out of control, and health care costs out of control. Republicans have refused to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits in the Senate. And as a result, tens of millions of Americans are now experiencing dramatically increased health insurance premiums. In some cases, the monthly costs have increased by $1,000 or $2,000 per month. That is completely and totally unacceptable. Brought to you by the Republican Party. At the same time, it's Republicans, led by Donald Trump, who in their one big ugly bill enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. They literally have ripped health care away from more than 14 million Americans. And as a result of their policies, hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health clinics are closing all across America. In that one big ugly bill, they also cut SNAP by $186 billion, the largest cut to nutritional assistance in American history. The extremists, they literally snatched food out of the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans. And why did they do all of that? For at least two reasons. So they could provide massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors, and at the same time, create a $191 billion slush fund that went to the Department of Homeland Security, including $75 billion to ICE, so that masked agents could unleash brutality and lawlessness on the American people. Everyday Americans have had enough with the failed policies of Donald Trump and Republicans in the House and the Senate. And the only real question that needs to be answered right now is, when will Republicans have enough with the extremism and the cruelty and the chaos and the corruption that has failed the American people? Questions? Republicans have a responsibility to move the rule, which, by the way, includes a wide variety of other issues that we strongly disagree with, including their efforts to weaponize the criminal contempt process so they can create a distraction from the Department of Justice continuing to hide the Epstein files. And so it's hard to imagine a scenario where Democrats are going to provide Republicans who spent all last year lecturing us about the fact that they had some big, massive mandate. Really? You had a 3-seat majority that as of this evening will be a 2-seat majority, the narrowest one since 1930. Spent all year lying to the American people, but pretending, apparently some of them believe it, that the results of the 2024 election represented a dramatic shift in how the American people viewed the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. What have the results of the last year said about that conclusion? What have the results of Saturday night, deep in the heart of Texas, said about the Republican conclusion? That somehow we were in the midst of some dramatic MAGA makeover. It was a lie then, it's a lie today, and it certainly will be proven to be a lie in November.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. During the last government shutdown, you spoke about how the American people were on your side. You cited polling, anecdotal evidence from all of the travel that you've done across the country. Did the last shutdown and the public sentiment behind it, does that have any bearing on this particular partial shutdown, how Democrats are approaching it? Do you believe that the same way you felt the American people were on your side over the healthcare fight, they're with you in this ICE debate? Does that somehow play into the calculus that you all are thinking about as you all figure out how to move forward?
Well, Democrats clearly had the high ground as it relates to standing on the side of the American people and pushing to fix our broken healthcare system and address the Republican healthcare crisis, which is ongoing, and that work is ongoing. And John Thune needs to stop erecting procedural hurdles and take up the House-passed bill that will allow for a straightforward extension for 3 years of the Affordable Care Act tax credits to benefit working families, middle-class families, and everyday Americans. In the same way that we had the high ground in standing on the side of the American people, and will continue to do so as it relates to health care, we clearly have the high ground in standing on the side of the American people with respect to ICE. ICE and the Department of Homeland Security need to dramatically change. And absent that, then a full-year appropriations bill is in deep trouble because the American people are correctly demanding accountability. The American people want to see the mask come off. The American people want to see body cameras turned on and mandated. The American people want to see judicial warrants before ICE or DHS officers can storm homes, harass people violently on the streets of America, or rip people out of their cars. The American people want to see independent investigations so that if ICE or DHS officers break the law, they are held accountable. This concept of absolute immunity is absolute absurdity because the American people know that if you break the law in the United States of America, you should be held accountable. Nobody is above the law. ICE officers should be held to the same standards as every other member of law enforcement in the country who put their lives on the line for us, law enforcement officers, police officers at home in New York and across the country. And ICE needs to be reined in. They're out of control. They need to be brought to heel so that there is a level of accountability and professionalism that the American people are demanding. Those are just a few of the issues that are absolute must-haves in advance of the Congress taking up a full-year appropriations bill as it relates to DHS funding.
Mr. Jeffries, on this bill, on the actual vote for passage, will you vote for it? Will you vote with your members on it?
We have a leadership meeting later on today where we'll have a discussion about it. We had a caucus meeting yesterday. There was a diversity of perspectives about how to move forward on this particular bill, but it's the 5 bipartisan bills where there's strong Democratic support, and of course, a variety of perspectives as it relates to the 2-week continuing resolution, the 2-week funding freeze related to DHS. So we'll continue those conversations in the leadership meeting today at 5:15, and then of course we'll have a full and robust discussion tomorrow morning at caucus. Thanks. Yeah, second row. I'll get back to you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, sir. On the subject of the contempt resolutions the House is set to vote on this week, what do you make of the fact that a number of members of your caucus voted with Republicans in committee, and do you plan on whipping against those resolutions this week?
Well, those decisions, of course, will be